left to right. Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Joining us today is Jack. Make sure you check him out on Twitter at Jack Connell TPL. What's going on, Jack?
Nothing much, It's free agency is just starting off the NFL. Draft season's upon us. XFL is going on. It's a great time for football.
On tap for today, we're going to talk about Nigel Bradham and the Philadelphia Eagles and the linebackers moving forward. But it seems like yesterday, man, that Michael Kendricks, Jordan Hicks, and Nigel Bradham were flying all around the field during the Eagles' Super Bowl victory over the Patriots back in 2017. First and foremost, before we get started, I just want to say thank you, freaking Nigel Bradham, because he had 7 tackles during that Super Bowl game, and it was one of the best days of my life. How about you? Any comments about that?
Yeah, I mean, he was great. He was obviously a great linebacker. Really thankful for everything he did here. I mean, he extended. He stayed team-friendly. I mean, he was all-around great pickup by Howie Roseman. I'm thankful for everything he did here.
Fully agree. But here we are. The Eagles announced today that they will not be picking up linebacker Nigel Bradham's option for 2020. In doing so, Howie Roseman saves $4.4 million, but it also leaves a gaping hole at linebacker for this season and beyond. It also opens the door, though, for a compensatory pick in case Bradham signs elsewhere. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But what was your overall reaction to the move?
I was kind of surprised, but I'm really not shocked at all. I mean, I kind of get why they did it. It really isn't about this year going forward. He's got a lot of years left on this deal, and he's getting older. So they're kind of just seeing, listen, we opt out now, we save a lot of money down the line. It opens up the options to extend Malcolm Jenkins, opens up money for Wentz's extension so you can sign more players elsewhere. I get why they did it. I get the move. I will talk about more, but free agency is loaded at linebacker this year, so I expect a lot of cost-effective options out there. A lot of people are complaining that Nate Jerry's the one option now at linebacker. It's not going to be like that going into the year. It shouldn't be like that going into the year. Be fine. You'll probably find some great cheap options at linebacker in free agency, and Bradham's money will go towards some better players this offseason.
Yeah, I saw this coming, man. I don't know about you, but it was definitely, the writing was on the wall for Nigel Bradham not being on the Eagles next season. Dude, this is a guy that pretty much missed 6 games last year. He played in 2 of the worst games of the season versus Minnesota and the Dolphins. Man, his best moment, though, came during a game-sealing interception versus Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. So there's that. But he averaged 5 tackles per game this year. He had 0 sacks. The overall point is Nigel Bradham is 31 years old. He was having difficulty staying on the field, and the Eagles have to get younger and faster across the board, and that includes linebacker. But man, when you look at the linebacker position, especially on the Eagles, this is a position that has been neglected for decades, man. The last time the Eagles drafted a linebacker, it was Joe Walker in the 2016 7th round, man. The track record for the Philadelphia Eagles is last 2 decades is literally Jeremiah Trotter, and that's fucking it. So what's the plan at linebacker for the Eagles next year? I guess, or the better question is, has there ever been a plan for linebacker for the Eagles?
Linebacker, I mean, unless you really have a generational hard-hitting talent, it's really a lot about scheme. In the passing game, they're picking up zones. They're kind of hooked to crow, which is really kind of an easy zone to pick up if you're a decently agile linebacker. I mean, it's unless you're incredible, like a Luke Kuechly type talent, or I mean, there's some decent linebacker. It's usually if you have a great defense around them, linebackers usually plug and play. So maybe they're investing better in the other sides of their defense, which I get. And I mean, if you have decent linebackers that can wrap up, that can get out to their zone coverages, I really don't see it as much of an issue.
Yeah, man. Jim Schwartz's defensive philosophy has always prioritized the defensive line. It's neglected the linebacker position, but the bottom line is when the Eagles' defensive line is getting consistent pressure on the cornerback, that's the whole idea of Jim Schwartz's defense. And when that kind of stopped at points last year, that's when the linebackers were exposed. Jack, your ranking position of need, where does linebacker now rank in terms of the biggest need for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I think first it goes wide receiver. Then I think you also look at the defensive line and the secondary kind of going as the big 3. You're looking to upgrade going into this. offseason. Offensive line, you're kind of set. Everybody's coming back. Running back, I mean, you've got a solid group there. You got Miles Sanders. You got Boston Scott. Like, you're going to be fine there. I think it's probably the third, I would say. Yeah, like, I think it's probably the third most important going into fourth, somewhere around there. You're going to get an upgrade there, where it's to the draft or free agency. There will be an upgrade there. I don't know how big that will be. Probably not much, but there will be an upgrade there.
Our top two is the same. I've got wide receiver first, number one need. Number two, I've got cornerback. Number three, I've got defensive tackle. You look at Fletcher Cox, you look at Malik Jackson's not getting any younger. They don't really have any young defensive tackles to kind of develop and groom. And then four, I've got linebacker. It goes against, I think linebacker should be higher, but just knowing Jim Schwartz is going to be back next year, knowing that they never value linebackers in this defense, especially in the draft, it's hard. It's probably fourth, but realistically, who knows what it is? It's probably fifth, sixth, or seventh. There are also plenty of options in free agency that won't break the bank. The biggest name in free agency that I'm looking out for is a guy named Nick Kwiatkowski. This is a 6'2", 243-pound linebacker, inside linebacker. He would be a very good value signing for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's his fourth year. He played in 57 games, started 22 games. He's been pretty good. He's a pretty good athlete. He's a good special teamer, which is always, Jim Schwartz. They love those versatile defenders. He's 26 years old. He was a fourth-round pick in 2016. And, this is a guy that started the final 7 games for the Chicago Bears and really thrived. He had a standout game versus Detroit where he had 8 tackles, a sack, and an interception on Thanksgiving Day. That's a guy to look out for. Do you have anybody that kind of is on your radar there?
I think Kwiatkowski is a great pickup. I like him. He's, like you say, he's been around the league for a little bit. He's young, but he's agile. I mean, he kind of hit the nail on the head with that. I think he'd be an interesting option to look into as a team. I think he's really not going to be that expensive. I think he's kind of the exact kind of person you're looking for in this Jim Schwartz defense as terms of age, ability, and contract. I think he's probably the perfect plug in there at linebacker.
Awesome. Last thing, Jack, you are Howie Roseman. Knowing how much of a need linebacker is now, would you spend a first-round pick on a linebacker in this year's draft?
No. With the immense amount of depth at the receivers, just with the eliteness of talent that's available at the positions you need in the first round, you go there. Linebackers, you're so able to find deep into a draft. I wouldn't really worry about first-round pick on unless you're looking at somebody elite right coming out the gate like a Luke Kuechly. I mean, there's usually about 2 of them a year, and they're usually going within the top 15 picks. So I don't think you go for a linebacker in the first round this year.
I fully agree. Let's keep it going. Would you spend a second round pick?
Well, they have 2 second round picks, right?
They have a first, a second, and 2/3, 2/4, and remaining whatever. 5 other picks.
I would spend a third. I wouldn't spend a second rounder. Like you said, you're probably going to pick up the lesser of the options of what you don't get right off the bat. So if you don't get a corner in the first round, probably hit it on a corner in a second, or if there's a really good defensive lineman prospect, you'll hit on that, and then you'll get a corner and a linebacker in the third, or maybe another receiver. But I don't see them going linebacker in the first 2 rounds with what they have right now, and the possibility they might trade up. I don't see it.
I fully agree, man. I would be fine with going back-to-back wide receiver in the top 2 rounds. Wide receiver, cornerback. I'd be fine with back-to-back cornerbacks if that's where the best player available lies. If there is a linebacker like Patrick Queen that falls down into that second round, would I think about it? Probably, but nah, man. You got to get cornerbacks. You got to get wide receivers. Third round, yeah, I'd probably spend, if there's someone there that's highly ranked on their board, I'd probably go with a linebacker in the third round. I fully agree. My final thoughts on this trade is it gives Howie Roseman more money to spend. And I'm personally praying to God that Howie Roseman utilizes this to sign and trade Darius Slay and get him extended. Because that news yesterday or 2 days ago that broke that Darius Slay could be available in a trade. That's got to be, among the top priorities for the Eagles this offseason. When you look at how the Eagles have drafted high-end, top-end talent in the top of the rounds of the draft, man, it's not good. And Darius Slay would be a really good addition to the Eagles. Any final thoughts on all this, man?
I never trust myself. It always feels like whenever we ever trade or sign for a big name corner, it just doesn't work out well at all. I mean, Namio Samoa, Byron Maxwell, Ronald Darby. I don't know. I mean, Darius Slay is going to be 29 years old.
Sounds older. I think he's a little younger than that.
I mean, I have to see his exact age. Depending on how old he is, I don't know if I would go for it on that. I mean, great. And the salary cap's going to be very interesting going forward because you kind of have a lot of questions as to what you're going to do. And you could be right up against the salary if you try to make some. Yeah, he's 29 years old.
Oh, wow.
I'm not there. He's going to want a lot of money, and you don't want to lock him up for long because corners really depreciate after 30, 31 years old. You probably only get one solid year out of him at best. You'll probably get a couple good years, but his best year is going to be next year. And I don't know if I'm going to give up that much capital in this low of a draft for Darius Slay.
All right, well said. Anything you want to plug? Post position? Anything like that?
We just did a post position yesterday covering All-Star recap. We'll be doing one tomorrow, breaking down the regular season predictions for the rest of the year going forward. Got an article coming out, should be tomorrow. Really good piece on XFL social media editor Bailey Carlin. Really good dude. Really great story. I'll be excited. That'll be out probably tomorrow morning. That's kind of what I got working on currently.
Alrighty. Make sure you follow everything of Jack on Twitter at Jack Connell TPL. For Jack, for myself, thanks for the memories, Nigel. Man, thanks for that Super Bowl win. We'll miss you. Who knows? Maybe they bring him back on a really team-friendly deal. I highly doubt it. But Nigel, you will be missed. For Jack, for myself, stay awesome, guys. See you next time.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh man, and being just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles? Let me get a hell yeah!
And the Sixers win it! Wow! Oh man, and being just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles? Let me get a hell